3 bone-chilling tales of fear. Alone in the woods at 3 a.m. You'll never go back again. The moon hung high like a ghostly lantern, casting an eerie glow over the sprawling, tangled woods. Every rustle of leaves felt like a whisper, a warning slicing through the frigid night air. It was a fearsome hour, 3 a.m., when the soul of the forest seemed to breathe ominously around you. Shadows danced as if alive, and the trees swayed like twisted, ancient spirits, hiding secrets that sent shivers down the spine. The darkness wasn't just absence of light, it was a thick blanket, choking and suffocating, wrapping itself around anyone foolish enough to wander into its depths. Jason didn't believe in the supernatural, but tonight felt different. He couldn't shake the sensation that eyes were watching him from the shadows, silently observing every move he made. He had come to these woods searching for the thrill of the unknown, stories shared by campers who claimed they left with more than just memories. They spoke of strange symbols carved into the trees and sounds like distant moans echoing in the night, but he dismissed them as drunken tales. Now, walking deeper into the tree-line, the atmosphere crackled with an energy he couldn't ignore. Then, he stumbled upon something that made his heart race, an old, abandoned cabin hidden beneath a thick canopy of branches. The windows were dark sockets, and the door hung on its hinges like a broken jaw. A chill ran through him as he approached, and the world around him quieted, as if nature itself held its breath. Something was wrong, profoundly wrong. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Jason hesitated. The night air thickened around him, wrapping him like a cold, unyielding grip. The thought of stepping inside that cabin stirred something primal within him, a mixture of fear and insatiable curiosity. He was about to turn back when a sudden creak echoed from inside, sending a bolt of adrenaline rushing through his veins. The door swung open, revealing a darkness so deep it felt almost alive. Who knew what waited inside? Was it just his imagination? Or had he, like so many before him, wandered into a trap meant for the unsuspecting? With his heart pounding, Jason clenched his hands into fists, battling between the instinct to flee and the urge to explore. As he stepped across the threshold, a frigid gust swept past him, whispering secrets of a past lost to time. What awaited him inside the cabin would challenge everything he thought he knew. The mysteries lurked, and in them, pure terror lingered, ready to take hold. The cabin smelled of damp wood and decay, like a tomb sealed away from the world. Jason's senses heightened, every creak of the floorboard sent a pulse of fear through him. He could taste the lingering bitterness of mold in the air, and his instincts screamed for him to turn back. But something deeper, an unexplainable pull, urged him forward. He flicked on his flashlight, its beam slicing through the oppressive darkness. Shadows danced along the cabin's walls, twisted shapes that seemed to mock his intrusion. Old furniture lay scattered, covered in a thick layer of dust. The walls were adorned with peeling wallpaper, once cheerful, now faded and grotesque. As he stepped deeper inside, his eyes adjusted, revealing a mat with intricate patterns. They didn't belong in this place, they felt out of time, foreign, like a scream dripping with silence. Then he saw it, a slashing mark etched into the wood near the fireplace. The symbol was unlike anything he had seen before, an unrecognizable glyph that pulsed with an intensity that almost hummed beneath his touch. Goosebumps erupted on his arms, and he felt a shiver as he traced the outline of the shape, each stroke echoing a whisper of ancient lore. The stories he scoffed at suddenly pierced through his mind like a sharp knife. Jason stepped back, forcing himself to breathe. "This is just an old cabin," he muttered, almost pleading with himself. Nothing more. But a part of him couldn't deny it. The air palpated with secrets buried in the wood grain, and he was not alone. A faint sound echoed from the back of the cabin, a soft creaking followed by a low thud. His heart raced, each beat drumming in his ears. The unease he had felt from the moment he entered crystallized into pure dread. Someone, or something, was inside with him. "Hello?" he called, his voice trembling, quaking like a leaf in the wind. No answer came, only the relentless thud of his own pulse thumping louder in response. His instincts screamed at him to turn and run, but his legs felt rooted in place, caught in the thick web of fog that shrouded his mind. Another sound, a soft sigh, like the wind passing through a hollow tree. This time, it was close, too close. Taking a cautious step back, he realized the door had swung shut behind him. The darkness rushed in like a predator stalking its prey, and panic clawed at his throat. In a sudden rush, he turned towards the direction of the sound. "Is anyone there?" he demanded, though his voice faltered. Just as he took another step, the floorboard beneath him creaked ominously, and he felt a chilling breeze whip through the room, carrying with it a whisper, the unmistakable sound of laughter. It was cold, mocking. Then the laughter morphed into something else, a wailing, echoing through the cabin's old wood, a sound of torment and despair. It bled into the air, wrapping around Jason like a noose, squeezing tighter. Fear surged through him, igniting a flame of desperation. He had to get out. Just as his fingers reached for the doorknob, it rattled violently from the other side, as if someone or something was trying to break in. He spun around, heart pounding, ready to confront whatever terror stood between him and the door to freedom. But in that moment, an unmistakable realization struck him. He was not here to leave. He had stepped into a story of horror meant to trap those who dared enter. And the night was far from over. He just wished he could remember the tales again. What had they warned him about? Here, in the hushed grip of the cabin, Jason prepared to face the darkest depths of fate, every instinct screaming for him to run, while a voice whispered, "Stay." What price would he pay for the truth hidden within these walls? The rattling doorknob sent a surge of adrenaline through Jason's veins. He spun around, eyes wide, breathing quick and shallow. He stood frozen, torn between the urge to flee and the seemingly magnetic pull of whatever darkness awaited him behind the cabin walls. "Open the door!" he yelled, feeling foolish even as the words left his lips. Would a ghost listen? The fevered laughter escalated, writhing through the air, wrapping it in a thick, tainted fog. Then, just like that, the laughter ceased. Silence fell heavy, suffocating him like a thick blanket, as vibrations thrummed beneath his feet. It felt as if the walls themselves were alive, holding their breath. The temperature plummeted, and Jason's skin prickled with an icy touch. He forced himself to back away from the door, his flashlight beam bouncing erratically in the gloom. The shadows twisted around him like serpents, he felt their cold gaze watch him, waiting for a misstep. "Think, Jason. You've seen something like this before. It's just a cabin." But his desperate thoughts offered no comfort. A scuff on the floorboard near the fireplace sliced through the stillness. Jason's eyes snapped to the corner, the symbols etched into the wood now glowing faintly, pulsing with a rhythm that echoed his heartbeat. He approached them cautiously, a moth drawn to a flame. Could they tell him what he needed to know? Would they reveal the secrets of this cursed place? As he reached out, a surge of energy shot through him. The glyph crackled with a low hum, igniting images in his mind, visions of a rural community surrounded by shimmering woods, neighbors laughing, children playing, celebrating life beneath the sun. But in the blink of an eye, the scenes shifted to darkness and despair, a shadow camouflaging itself within the joys of the past, a harbinger of chaos. The laughter returned, darker now, echoing the faces of those lost. In a sudden flash, he grasped it. The tales. His grandmother's warnings. The stories whispered near the kitchen table, warnings of restless spirits and imploring voices calling their loved ones back home. Stories of those who entered places like this one, only to vanish, leaving nothing but echoes of their fears behind. Panic clawed at Jason as he stumbled back. "I need to leave," he gasped, but the thought felt futile. He sensed movement from the shadows, then a flicker, a shape emerging, twisting in on itself, as if the darkness was congealing, becoming something more. From the depths of that murky void, it took form. A figure, draped in torn, ghostly fabric, its face obscured but its hollow eyes drilling into Jason's very soul. The air grew thick with an oppressive dread that screeched through his mind like nails on a chalkboard. "Stay with us," it breathed, its voice echoing the mirthful laughter from before. Join the celebration. His body ignited with fear, muscles coiling in reflexive tension. He wasn't the first, he wouldn't be the last. Jason turned sharply, adrenaline surging, suddenly making him acutely aware of every creak, every whisper in the cabin. His gaze darted back to the door, now an impenetrable mark of his plight. There was no escape. He mustered his voice, the fire of determination igniting within him once more. "No. I refuse." With one last effort, he charged for the exit, heart hammering wildly, his mind racing through the fading threads of warnings that crept back to him. But beneath the chaos of the moments, he felt the watchful eyes of the figure behind him, like a shadow loomed over the very act of escape, but in that moment, the floor beneath him bucked, splintering away, revealing a dark chasm that was once concealed. Jason faltered, teetering at the brink, fear surging to new heights. Would the dark options of fate pull him into the unknown? The choice was spiraling out of his control. What truth would he uncover? As he stood there, breathless, poised at the threshold, an unexpected howl echoed outside, piercing through the cabin's chilling hold. It seemed to beckon him, urging him to jump one way or the other. And that howl promised nothing good. Which direction would he follow into the night? Jason's heart pounded against his ribcage, a frantic drumbeat of dread. The shadows twisted, alive with menace, as the figure lurked just behind him, a ghostly specter beckoning him deeper into the shadows. He fought against the pull of the chasm that yawned below, fear sparking like static in his veins. Then the howl came again, louder and more insistent. It resonated through the air, an urgent plea that chilled him to the core. "No!" he mouthed, shaking his head as if to physically will the darkness away. He breathed in sharply, his mind racing toward escape. He had to make a choice, any choice. With one desperate lunge, Jason launched himself toward the door, feeling the cold whisper of the figure's presence trail behind him, a chilling wind grazing his neck. He grabbed the doorknob, icy metal biting into his palm. "Please work," he gasped, twisting the knob with every ounce of strength he had. It was locked. Of course, it was locked. Behind him, the figure shifted, the air thick with its energy. "Join the celebration," it hissed again, its voice dripping with dread and temptation. The shadows around it seemed to thicken, darkness swelling like a black tide. "Get away from me!" Jason screamed, feeling the floor buckle beneath him as if the cabin itself was alive, trying to swallow him whole. He scrambled toward the fireplace, eyes darting to the glowing symbols. Can they help? Can they save me? In a frantic sweep of his flashlight, he searched for something, anything, that would give him an edge. Without thinking, he grabbed a fallen log from the hearth, heavy and solid in his hands. It was a primitive weapon against the darkness. Jason's anxiety narrowed down to clarity. There was a way out, there had to be. Raising the heavy log, he swung it at a nearby wall, hoping to create a distraction. The wood splintered, revealing darkened scratches and smudges beneath. It felt like peeling away a layer of time. The hollow sound echoed in the mournful silence. But in that moment, the figure recoiled, its face flickering like a poorly filmed horror movie. "Stop!" it shrieked, now sounding frantic, its malevolence quaking. Jason seized the opening. He dashed for the chasm at his feet, teetering on the edge. Was this really it? Was this the way to drain the darkness from his heart? Or was it just another trap? The howl swirled around him, a cacophony of lost voices. It haunted him, urging him forward. With no time to think, he leaped. His foot landed on the edge of the haunting void, and suddenly, he was tumbling, darkness surrounding him like an embrace too close for comfort. With a jolt, he landed hard not into the abyss, but onto solid ground. The impact knocked the breath out of him. He rolled onto his back, staring at a ceiling not made of logs, but something smooth and cold. Panic swelled anew within him. He blinked, disoriented. This was not the cabin. Jason scrambled to his feet, heart racing wildly. He was in a long hallway, narrow and dimly lit with a flickering light bulb swaying above. Down the corridor, shadows danced ominously along the walls. His instincts screamed at him to move, to find safety. He glanced back, half expecting the figure to manifest at any moment. But the darkness remained still, almost expectant. As Jason turned towards the hallway that beckoned him, he felt an icy breath against his neck. "Where do you think you're going?" echoed a voice, familiar yet distorted, slicing through the fear like a knife. Jason's blood ran cold. He spun around. Staring at him was someone he thought he would never see again, someone whose very memory had haunted his nights. His heart dropped as he realized he was not alone anymore. "Stay with us." What did that even mean? And just like that, the second howl ripped through the stillness again, chilling him to the marrow. What game was this? And who else was trapped in the shadows waiting for him to make a decision? Each step forward felt heavier. Jason's next choice loomed before him, a heavy weight. One wrong turn could plunge him into a nightmare he couldn't escape. Which path would he chase into the dark? Jason stood frozen, a flood of emotions crashing over him. Fear, confusion, and a desperate longing to understand this nightmare fought for dominance in his mind. The flickering light bulb overhead cast dancing shadows on the figure that stood before him. "Why are you here?" he managed to croak out, his throat dry and tight. His eyes searched the ghostly visage, hoping to find familiarity amidst the terror. "You know why," the figure answered, its voice a distorted echo of soft remembrance mingled with deep sorrow. "You left us. You abandoned everything." "No!" Jason shouted, shaking his head. Memories flooded back, too vivid to ignore, but too painful to face. The reasons for his departure recoiled like coiled springs in his mind, but the truth was woven within layers of regret. "Stay with us." The words slithered through his ears, wrapping around him, pulling him into a web of despair. The darkness seemed to pulse with anticipation, hungry for his response. Behind him, the wall trembled slightly as though the very structure was alive, urging him to decide. In the distance, the howl that once seemed so distant echoed again, an anguished cry for salvation. Jason's pulse quickened. I can't stay here." The words tore from his throat, raw and desperate. "Can't or one T." The figure's smirk twisted the air into something sinister. Cold tendrils of darkness curled around Jason's ankles, dragging him slowly downward. Panic surged within him as he fought to break free. He aimed for the glowing symbols still flickering from the log he shattered. "Help me!" he screamed, hoping the energy from before would respond to his call. To his surprise, the symbols flared to life, an electric blue light pushing back against the shadows. They pulsed, the energy crackling, wrapping around him like a shield. But the figure only laughed, a sound both beautiful and terrifying. It stepped closer, the shadows deepening around it. "You think that will save you?" Jason stepped back, feeling the weight of its presence. The air grew thicker, and a chill seeped deep into his bones. "What do you want from me?" he shouted, the back of his mind still grasping for answers, for a way out. "Your heart," whispered the figure, a metallic glint shining in its hollow eyes. "It's the anchor we need to bring us back to life." Jason's throat tightened. Every ounce of dread clawed at him, as realization settled in. He had to escape, but the path was fraught with monsters of his own making. The voice continued to echo in his mind, "You know you want to join us, to leave behind the pain." "No. I'm not like you." He gripped the symbols tighter, feeling energy surging through him. Memories blurred and shifted, laughter among friends, warmth of love, the crushing weight of grief. Racked with pain, he still held on to the light, refusing to let it go. "Leave me alone!" he shouted, desperation fueling his words. Jason turned to run, but the hallway stretched infinitely, shadows looming larger, the laughter morphing into manic howls. With every step, the air crackled with a sense of loss. The walls seemed to close in, and Jason sprinted forward, every heartbeat echoing a frantic beat, the figure trailing behind, relentless. "Join us, Jason, join us!" it called, and he felt the icy grip of fear lunging forward. Suddenly, he stumbled upon a door at the end of the corridor, its frame blood-red and ominous. He could hear whispers clawing at the surface of his sanity, voices of the lost. But behind him, the figure's breath was like ice, and he was caught in its ensnaring gaze of temptation. Jason paused, heart racing, one hand gripping the door handle while the darkness behind felt alive with anticipation. What lay behind the door? His instincts screamed to turn and face the figure one last time. "Are you brave enough to leap into the unknown?" A choice loomed larger than the shadows as he threw the door open, revealing yet another layer of darkness beyond. The glimmer of hope and fear clashed violently. Could this be the way out? Or a deeper plunge into despair? With a deep breath, he stepped through. What awaited him on the other side? Jason stumbled through the doorway, the cold breath of the unknown wrapping around him like a shroud. He felt weightless, as if he had stepped into a void, where sound and light dissolved into a dim haze. Panic clutched his chest, but he pushed forward, driven by a shred of desperate hope. At first, there was nothing but silence, thick and oppressive, like a heavy blanket pressing down on him. But then, a distant humming trickled through the air, faint and almost soothing. He turned toward the sound, the very air around him vibrating. Each step was tentative, daring, as he searched for its source. The darkness shifted. Pinpoints of light emerged, some flickering like fireflies, others steady and bright like stars pinched between his fingers. The luminescence offered a strange comfort, grounding him against the weight of his fears. "Where am I?" he whispered, uncertainty snaking through his veins. Suddenly, a movement caught his eye. Jason spun around, pulse quickening. A shadow darted by just outside the reach of his light. Was it the figure from before? His heart thundered in his chest as he squinted into the dark, but the shape slipped away, taunting him with its elusiveness. "Jason, join us," the voice echoed from the depths, warped and familiar. It seeped into the corners of his mind, twisting memories he thought he'd buried. He could almost make out faces in the darkness, blurry and shrouded in sorrow. Despair clanged like a bell in his heart. He couldn't go back to that. He remembered the laughter, the love, and the unbearable weight of loss. "No. I want tea," he shouted, defiance igniting in his belly. As if responding to his rage, the lights around him flared brighter. The humming crescendoed into a wild symphony, filling the void with a mix of joy and terror. His breath came in shallow bursts as the cacophony clawed at his senses. Then, a door appeared, shimmering in the distance, its edges shimmering with those same eerie lights. Unlike the last door, this one throbbed with undeniable warmth. Jason's instincts flared. Maybe this is it. He ran toward it, hopeful yet cautious, every step bringing him closer to something good. But just as he reached the door, the comforting hum shifted into a dissonant wail. Chills raced up his spine. The world around him surged and twisted, shadows coiling like serpents, the figure looming just beyond his periphery. "You think you can escape so easily?" it sneered, voice cutting through his soul. Jason grasped the door handle, the warmth of the light seeping into his palm. "I'm not like you," he screamed, fire roaring in his throat. But as he twisted the knob, a jarring force yanked him backwards, pulling him away from the promise of light. He crashed to the ground, ensnared in a haunting embrace. "You can never leave us, Jason," the figure snarled, shadows clawing at his limbs, tightening their grasp like chains of ice. Fighting against the overwhelming darkness, Jason clawed at the ground, searching for the source of the light, for anything that could save him. His breath quickened. Desperation surged. What if this was all a trap? What if there was no escape? Join us, the voices echoed, a torrent of shattered dreams leaving their mark on him. With his heart pounding, he prepared for the unthinkable. He pulled from deep within, letting the flickering energy seep into his bones. A surge rushed through him. He was more than just a terrified boy lost in a nightmare. He was Jason. He felt the weight of resistance shift, as if the shadows recoiled from the truth burning within him. I choose my path. He roared, the energy erupting like a volcano, pushing the darkness back. The shadows shrieked, the harmony of light and pain swirling in chaos, but just then, he noticed something floating among the chaos, a familiar face, barely visible, a flicker of recognition. And from its lips, a name, his name. Jason, come back. As confusion blurred his vision, a crack in reality opened up before him. He inhaled sharply, adrenaline coursing through him. Could he really step through this? Would it lead him home or plunge him deeper into despair? The choice loomed large once again. Would he risk all for a chance of freedom? Or stay bound in this realm of regret? As the faces faded into laughter and shadows, the final portal beckoned. What awaited him beyond? Jason's heart raced as he strained to make sense of the shifting shadows around him. The crack in reality pulsed like a heartbeat, drawing him closer with an overwhelming sense of urgency. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to dive into that fractured opening. But behind him, the oppressive darkness slashed at his resolve. With a deep breath, he pushed himself off the ground, muscles trembling from the struggle. This is my path. He cried out, more to himself than anyone else. The shadows shrieked in response, anger rippling through them like a storm. He steeled himself and took a step forward. The door glowed brilliantly, twinkling with invitation, but confusion muddied his thoughts. Was this hope? Or another trap? The faces from the void, those lost smiles, echoed in his mind. They pulled at him with love, but also fear. Among the faces, he could still make out those he had loved and lost. Jason, the voice composed of forgotten memories, whispered again. It was softer, almost begging, a sliver of warmth in the cold expanse. Come home. He shook his head, teeth clenched. I'm not coming back. His voice sliced through the air, filled with newfound strength, even as doubt crept in. What if this was the moment he made a grave mistake? What if the door led him back to the very loss he wanted to escape? Suddenly, without warning, the crack rippled violently. It expanded, then collapsed, pulling him towards the chaotic energy beyond. He was losing control. No! Jason shouted, fighting against the pull. His fingers wrapped tighter around the doorframe, but his grip was slipping. Stay with us. The figures grew clearer now, haunting and sorrowful, their eyes carrying despair that chilled him to the bone. They reached out as if trying to bridge the impossible distance. Jason could feel their anguish against his skin, a bitter taste of grief seeping into his veins. Jason felt a pang, a memory of laughter and warmth seemed to bloom within him, a flicker of a past life. He remembered family evenings, wild adventures, sweet victories, all pungent reminders of what he could lose if he let this darkness consume him. Not again. Fueled by sheer determination, he howled with a primal fear and surged toward the door, muscles straining. With one final effort, he wrenched the door open. A blinding light flooded in, overwhelming him. He squinted, the brightness threatening to absorb him whole, then silence. In that space, each breath felt monumental, the air thick with tension. He hesitated, suddenly unsure what lay ahead. He took a cautious step into the light, which engulfed him, leaving no trace of the darkness that clawed at his heels, but as he pressed deeper into the brightness, he felt something shift. The clarity of the light grew murky, shadowy figures emerging from the corners of his vision once more. You can't escape your true self, they whispered in unison, their tones dripping with malevolent glee. Those faces twisted into malicious grins, one mingling closer, so hauntingly familiar. Mom? The word escaped his lips, a fragile breath caught between dread and longing. But the figure melted back into the light, laughing, a sound echoed around him, turning joyous memories into taunts. Heart-hammering, Jason's limbs felt heavy, as though the warmth of hope had transformed into a sinking anchor. He looked around, desperately trying to find solid footing, a way out of this never-ending loop of despair. Nothing but the uncertainty of another choice awaited him. Was freedom slipping away, or was he inching closer to salvation? He took a deep, unsteady breath as the figures laughed again, morphing into the shadows around him. The light was fading, and Jason was left standing on the precipice of an unavoidable truth. What if he had never truly escaped? With a sudden shock, he realized he was still trapped, ensnared by his own memories. The portal flickered, ready to offer its next choice. Would he brave the darkness again, or embrace the light that grew dark with uncertainty? As confusion settled like fog around him, Jason's heart raced with one last horrifying thought: could the shadows be the only way to heal? The crackling light pulsed around Jason, warping indescribably with every anguished whisper. Shadows flickered just beyond his reach, their thoughts a brewing storm of torment, leaving him trembling in the grip of uncertainty. With a determined shake of his head, he pushed forward. You want to get me? I'm not your puppet. His own words bounced back at him, tauntingly clipped and steeped in defiance. But deep inside, a flicker of doubt still raged, shrouding his heart with cold unease. What if surrender was the only way to find peace? The flashing light enveloping him twisted like smoke, choking out the brilliance. Shapes morphed, hazy and dangerously inviting, beckoning him closer with ghostly fingers. Join us, Jason, be free. The familiar voices coalesced into a sweet, siren song, blending warmth and fear into one deliciously terrifying concoction. He recognized that draw, the comfort of an undeniable love, twisted by an equal measure of despair. Flee your past. A commanding whisper urged from the darkness, a sharp contrast to the chorus of sorrow. Free yourself and embrace what is right before you. Jason let out a ragged breath, sweat beading on his brow. He pressed his back to the now shimmering doorframe and thought of his father, sitting in his chair, dim light from the living room casting cascading shadows, a memory that sprang to life before him. Get back in the light, son, his voice echoed, stern yet compassionate. Not everything is a trap, sometimes it's safe to reach out. But insecurity pulled at Jason's heart like a vice. What decision could he possibly make? A choice so pivotal felt like stepping onto a tightrope strung over a chasm. Suddenly, the shadows swirled in anger, morphing and reshaping into monstrous figures. You think you can defy us? They bellowed, their voices resonating like thunder as they loomed closer. The ground beneath Jason rippled with their wrath, a tremor of fear that threatened to unbalance him. He stumbled, panic welling in his throat. The mocking laughter of the apparitions echoed all around him, blending with a cacophony of cries, those he had lost, snatched away by unrelenting time. Jason! They implored, save us! A fierce pain shot through him, and he locked eyes with one smiling figure, a little girl with sparkly eyes from a past long buried. Help me! It's not my fault. Jason's heart twisted, torn between aversion and longing. Could he deny their pleas, even if it meant succumbing to the same darkness he feared? Torn by indecision, he clutched his throat, the air thickening. The light flickered again, sending flashes of bright agony swirling back into his mind. He couldn't breathe. Choose. A voice boomed, intimidating and fierce. Was he really expected to decide? I can't. Jason's voice faltered, reverberating through the dark depths. The portal's sanctity crumbled, and the shadows began lunging at him, trying to snatch him back into their embrace. But he remembered his father's warm presence, the advice offered in quiet moments. A surge of clarity washed over him as he grabbed hold of his memories, no longer allowing the darkness to define him. I want to let you take me. He yelled into the rumbling chaos, feeling his heart rhythm change as he straightened his spine. A solid ground beneath him, and a surge of adrenaline cleared his vision. He plunged forward, the door flickering one last time. Would this choice lead him to freedom, or drag him deeper into the void? A blinding flash erupted, and through it, a window opened in the darkness, relentless yet welcoming. Jason could feel its warmth, embracing him like a long-lost friend, pulling him toward it with stubborn insistence. With his heart racing, he leapt forward, but as he crossed the threshold, an echo of laughter followed him, dark and thriving with malicious energy. "You can't run from what you are, you belong with us." What awaited him on the other side? Would he find the peace he so desperately sought, or had he truly entered a nightmare of his own making? The question clawed at him, echoing as the light swallowed him whole. Jason closed his eyes, desperately wishing for clarity amid the chaos. Would he emerge restored, or forever entangled in shadows? Light burst around him, warm and enveloping, yet Jason couldn't shake the chill clinging to his spine. Something about the brightness felt wrong, like stepping into a seemingly welcoming room only to sense the underlying tension. The laughter faded, but its echoes still pricked his skin. He landed on soft grass. A soft breeze whipped through the trees, their branches swaying, creating whispers that slithered around him. Jason blinked, trying to gather his wits. Where was he? The environment felt familiar yet alien, a reflection of his heart's tumultuous landscape. The silhouettes of trees loomed high, their twisted limbs like outstretched hands reaching for him. "Hello?" he called, voice too hollow. The sound evaporated in the air. An unsettling silence filled the space, wrapping around him like a wet blanket, clammy and invasive. Suddenly, he noticed a crooked path winding through the woods. Driven by a primal instinct, he stepped forward. Each footfall was muffled, swallowed by the thick underbrush, but Jason felt a growing itch in the back of his mind, a warning that urged him to hurry, to move. As he walked, fragments of memories teased at the edges of his consciousness, snippets of laughter, joy, and love intertwined with the chilling images from the shadows. His father's smile flickered to life again. "Keep moving, son. Don't ever stop. You have to keep going." The words echoed in the recess of his memory, igniting a spark of determination, but the woods were shifting, too. Shadows flipped and twisted, morphing into grotesque figures that phased him just beyond eye contact. Jason stumbled. Was it his imagination, or did the trees themselves thrum with malicious energy? He shook his head and pressed on, heart racing. Then he saw it, a small cabin nestled among the thick trees, its once bright exterior now weathered and grim, a prison of memories. As he approached, a knot twisted in his stomach. This place, the horrid echo of what had been, was where it all began. The weight of nostalgia wrapped around him, suffocating his resolve. The door swung open of its own accord, creaking ominously. An invitation? Or a trap? Every instinct screamed at him to turn back, but curiosity led him inside. Musty air charged with unspoken secrets swirled around him, mingling with the mingled fragrances of wood and decay. Jason, a whisper echoed, threading its way through the air, curling like smoke. "Welcome back." Each syllable wrapped around his heart, squeezing tightly. Was that the voice of someone he'd lost? Hope flickered, intertwining with dread. What if he found what he sought? What if he found answers? "Why did you leave?" The question hung heavy in the air, a palpable force drawing him deeper into the gloom. The shadows in the corners stretched and twisted like eager fingers, hungry to intertwine with him once again. "What do you want from me?" He dared to reply, though his voice trembled. The cabin felt alive, pulsating with secrets he'd long buried. The shadows responded in unison, their forms closing in like a vice. "Face us or become us," they whispered, a seductive lure wrapped in despair. Suddenly, the beams of the cabin began to pulse, the space tremoring as if alive. Jason's heart thundered. He felt trapped in an intricate web of illusions. Memories of laughter turned to cries, joy to despair. He was caught between two worlds, hovering on the brink of choice. With bile rising in his throat, he stepped back. This journey was far from over. The shadows loomed closer, and he realized he had to confront his fears. "You don't own me," he shouted, raw emotion surging through him with a ferocity he didn't know he had. And just like that, the cabin shivered violently as if reacting to his defiance. The shadows hissed, their voices melding into a howling storm. You can never escape what lies within. The walls began to close in, shaking with an unholy rhythm. Heart racing, he bolted towards the door, a frantic surge of energy propelling him forward. As he crossed the threshold, a piercing scream echoed from behind him, raw and unfiltered. Jason stumbled into the light again, breathless and shaking, but a sense of victory blossomed in his chest. The woods felt different now, as if he disrupted their malevolence. But as he turned back to face the cabin, the sounds of laughter returned, mingled with a lingering threat. You can't deny us. The path ahead twisted like a serpent, awaiting further choices. What lay ahead? Would he keep running, or would he confront the shadows lurking in his soul? That question plagued him as he ventured deeper into the unknown, unaware of what he would discover about himself next. Jason stumbled through the dimly lit woods, each step forcing the shadows to recede, but the weight of their whispers still clung to his skin. He could feel the remnants of the cabin's darkness settled like a shroud over his heart, threatening to pull him back into despair. His pulse quickened with every rustle of the leaves, ghostly echoes chanting beneath the trees. Fear gnawed at him, but so did a flicker of defiance, a spark ignited by the prospect of freedom. He remembered his father's words, urging him to keep moving, and with each dumb breath, he sought strength. You don't own me. The words burst from his throat, they reverberated in the silence, and for the first time tonight, he felt a slight shift in the air. The force of the dark calls dimmed, as if they draw into the recesses of the woods, momentarily uncertain. I won't be afraid, he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. But terror still blossomed at the edges of his courage. The confrontation ahead had to be made, but he had faced shadows before, physical and emotional. Jason took a deep breath, grounding himself in the power of his memories, family gatherings, the warmth of friends, the taste of adventure unspoiled by fear. Those moments glimmered in his mind, a beacon navigated amidst the storm. Suddenly, the wind picked up, swirling about him like an eerie dance, chasing away the thick mists that obscured his vision. The treetops seemed lighter, almost welcoming, inviting him forward through the tangled path. He pushed ahead, feeling the vibrations of the forest tremble around him, the trees standing guard against the horrors he had faced, and then, he found a clearing bathed in the silver light of the full moon. The sky stretched above him like a canvas transformed, flecked with pinpricks of stars. It struck him then, the beauty beyond the fear, the universe stretching for him in an embrace that felt real and vibrant. Each twinkling light was testament that not everything was haunted, not every memory dictated by shadows, but still, the darkness called, its whispers growing increasingly agitated. You belong to us, they taunted. Jason clenched his fists and shouted, No. You will not take me. Stronger now, resolute, he could feel the night air thickening with purpose. Then, he heard a distant howl in the night, but not from the shadows. This was different, a cry for help amidst the darkness that resonated around him, charging him with palpable urgency. Help us! Came the echoes of unfulfilled lives, desperate for release. It hit him. This was the final choice, making peace with the past, confronting the part of him that still lingered in the woods. Footsteps approached, and suddenly a figure stepped from the shadows, the little girl he'd seen before. Her eyes shimmered with a melody of laughter and heartbreak, a spirit suspended between realms. You can help us too, Jason, she urged, her voice laced with compelling truth. Set us free. His heart thudded painfully against his ribcage. These souls weren't mere phantoms, they were entwined with his journey, tied by shared sorrows and laughter. Jason knelt before her, his emotions swelling. I can't carry this, but you can. She interrupted gently, you have the strength to confront what holds you back. You set yourself free, and we can go with you. She reached out, her tiny hand trembling, and instinctively, he took it. The warmth surged through him, filling the air with a vibrant energy. Jason's breath steadied, a ray of hope lighting his chest. Together, he affirmed, every pulse in his being aligning with resolve. Let us face the darkness. The shadows howled, surging toward him like a ferocious wave. But Jason stood firm, the spectral pressure around him crashing against the combined strength of his memories and newfound friends. "You don't control me," he declared, and in that fervent moment, the cabin trembled far away, the whispers of despair faltering under his courage. A cyclone of light whirled around him and the girl, illuminating the clearing like the dawn breaking over darkness. Together, they surged forward, propelled by truth and longing to reunite. Jason felt an extraordinary release as laughter filled the air once more, the glee of reunions, the acceptance of grief, the beauty of remembering even when faced with pain. Each defeat cracked the walls that held them captive, leaving nothing but whispers silencing to a soothing cadence. "Keep going," the girl urged. "We're free together." And Jason ran weaving through the forest, toward a future full of light, untainted by the shadows of before. He glanced back only once, raising his voice into a joyous echo, "I choose life. I choose hope." The shadows behind him crumbled in his wake, the cabin's hold finally severed. He emerged into the warmth of dawn, every ounce of reclaiming self found in those shimmering rays that kissed his skin, filling him with the promise of new beginnings. "No more," he murmured, letting the peace of the day wash over him, and with it, the desire to share his story with the world. As the forest faded in the distance, his heart lightened, chasing the whispers reminded him to always move forward. Remember Jason's journey, and don't forget to embrace your own light when shadows close in. And hey, right now is the moment for big things. If you love this story, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive tales. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help fellow thrill seekers find these journeys. Flood the comments section, sharing your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Let's ignite that conversation. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with 5 friends who need to feel the thrill and the hope in their lives. The time is now to show your support.